Good day, everyone. Today, we're excited to present to you a topic of great ecological importance: phytoplankton and habitat monitoring in lakes. I am Michelle Montegrande, and together with me are Mr. Damaulao and Mr. Sarsaba. Through our presentation, we'll delve into why monitoring phytoplankton and their habitat is crucial for understanding and managing the well being of our lakes. So let's begin by understanding what phytoplanktons are. Phytoplankton are microscopic photosynthetic organisms that drift along in bodies of water. They are the primary producers in the marine food web, converting sunlight and nutrients into energy, making them the foundation of aquatic ecosystems. They also produce about half of the oxygen in the Earth's atmosphere, and they live in both salt and fresh water. The importance of phytoplankton cannot be understated. One key importance of these organisms is that they are considered autotrophs, which means that they produce their own food via photosynthesis. Phytoplanktons are the primary food source for marine organisms like fish and whales. And beyond their role in providing the base of the food web, other importances of phytoplanktons include first is the oxygen production through photosynthesis. Next is the nutrient cycling. So they assimilate nutrients such as nitrogen and phosphorus from the water. Next is maintain water quality by absorbing excess nutrients, thus preventing eutrophication. Next is the climate regulation by capturing carbon dioxide during photosynthesis. And lastly, maintain ecosystem balance as primary producers. So overall, these underscores the significance of the phytoplanktons in maintaining the health and functioning of aquatic ecosystems in our lakes. However, our lakes are facing serious challenges. The Philippines' growing population and industrial activities have led to increased nutrient pollution, triggering eutrophication in our lakes. Eutrophication is the process of nutrient enrichment in a lake, which can lead to excessive growth of algae and other plants. And excessive nutrients can cause detrimental algal blooms, disrupting aquatic ecosystems and impacting the water quality. Other challenges also include climate change and the presence of invasive species in our lakes. And the question arises, why would we monitor phytoplankton in our lakes? Lake monitoring provides us with valuable insights into the health of our lakes. It is an important tool for protecting the lake ecosystem and mitigating any potential risk that can damage the habitat. By tracking phytoplankton populations, we can detect shifts and potentially harmful blooms early, and this proactive approach empowers us to take effective measures to protect our lakes and the communities that rely on them. Therefore, monitoring the phytoplankton and their habitats in the Philippines lakes is not just an academic exercise. It is a practical necessity for ensuring our freshwater resources remain sustainable.
So, what are the benefits of integrated monitoring? So, the implications of lake monitoring are far reaching and can have a significant impact on the health of lakes and the surrounding environment. But here are some of the few implications to why lake monitoring is considered beneficial. First, it helps us to allow early detection of the problems. So, monitoring can help to detect problems early on before they become more serious. So, this can help to prevent or mitigate the effects of these problems. Second is to improve better management decisions. So, lake monitoring can provide us data that can be produced to make better management decisions. So, for example, data on water quality can be used to develop strategies to reduce pollution in the area. Third is to increase public awareness. So, lake monitoring can help to raise public awareness of the importance of lake health, and this can lead to changes in behavior and allow other people to help in protecting our resources that can help to protect specifically on lakes. The next one is to improve scientific understanding. So, when it comes to water resources, there are so many things that needs to be studied on, and lakes is one of them. Lake monitoring can help to improve our scientific understanding of that a specific ecosystem and can lead to the development of new technologies and methods for managing lakes, not just the ones that we'll be presenting later on. And finally, it has socio-economic benefits. So, for example, it can help to protect tourism and recreation industries that rely on healthy lakes. Overall, lake monitoring is an important tool for protecting lake health and the surrounding environment. It has a number of positive implications, including early detection of problems, better management decisions, increased public awareness, improved scientific understanding, and its socio-economic benefits. So the issue still remains, and the question ensues on why do we need to monitor phytoplanktons? So we need to monitor them because they are related to eutrophication, which is a common problem in lakes, and they are the main drivers of eutrophication. If you recall, eutrophication is the process of nutrient enrichment in a lake, which can lead to excessive growth of algae and other plants. The causes of having excessive amount of phytoplanktons in lakes include clouding the waters, reducing oxygen levels since the phytoplanktons are taking away the oxygen from other organisms living in the lake, and makes the lake less suitable for fish and other aquatic life. Phytoplanktons are the base of the food chain in lakes, which serves as a benefit to organisms living there. They do play a vital role in the ecosystem. However, when there are too many nutrients in the water and there's such thing as too much, phytoplanktons can grow out of control, leading to a bloom. So these blooms can produce toxins that can harm fishes and other organisms in the lakes, and they can make the water unsafe not just for organisms living in the lakes, but also for human use. By monitoring phytoplankton populations, we can track the progress of eutrophication and take the steps to prevent it. This can be done by collecting samples of water and analyzing them for phytoplankton levels, or different methods that can be used to monitor phytoplanktons and be able to mitigate any potential risks that can be gone in the long term. Moving on, monitoring phytoplanktons, as mentioned before, are used to identify the sources of nutrients that are causing eutrophication, and this information can then be used to develop strategies to reduce nutrient pollution. And over time, we can also track the progress of eutrophication and identify areas that are most at risk, as if this information can then be used to prioritize management efforts. But what are these methods? Luckily, we have named three most common measurement methods to identify and monitor phytoplanktons in combating nutrient pollution. And these are in situ measurements, remote satellite sensing, and water sampling.
So discussing the three methods here. So starting with in situ measurements, it is a method of studying phytoplankton and habitat in their natural environment without disturbing or collecting them. This is to obtain high resolution and real-time data on the spatial and temporal distribution, diversity, and dynamics of phytoplankton and their interactions with the physical and chemical factors of the water column. Its key feature is the use of holographic imaging, which allows capturing 3D images of phytoplankton and particles through a large volume of water without the need for a reference beam or interference. So comparing this to remote sensing, this measurement can provide more detailed and accurate information on the phytoplankton community at different depths and scales. Compare this to water sampling, in situ measurement can avoid the problems of sample degradation, contamination, or loss of viability. Moving on to remote sensing. This is a method of observing phytoplankton and habitat from space, using sensors that measure the reflected or emitted electromagnetic radiation from the ocean surface. This is to obtain large-scale and synoptic data on the distribution, biomass, diversity, and dynamics of phytoplankton and their response to environmental factors such as light, temperature, nutrients, and currents. Its key feature is the ability to detect different phytoplankton groups and size classes based on their optical properties, such as pigment composition, cell size, and shape. So comparing this to in situ measurement, this method can cover larger spatial and temporal scales and avoid the problems of sample preservation, transport, or analysis. However, this method has some limitations, such as dependence on atmospheric correction, the sensitivity of water turbidity, and surface reflectance, and the need for validation with in situ data. So the last method to be discussed in this presentation is water sampling. So this is a method of collecting water samples from different depths and locations in a water body using various devices such as water samplers, plankton nets, or bottles. So this is to obtain representative and accurate data on phytoplankton composition, abundance, biomass, and diversity, as well as the physical and chemical parameters of the water column. So its key feature is the ability to preserve and transport the samples to the laboratory for further analysis using different techniques such as microscopy, flow cytometry, and spectrophotometry. So comparing this to remote satellite sensing, this this water sampling can capture the variability and complexity of phytoplankton taxa and functional groups. Comparing this to in situ measurement, water sampling can be performed with simple and low-cost devices and methods. However, this has some limitations, such as dependence on sampling and frequency and design, and the need for quality assurance and quality control. Although the three methods discussed were significant in this topic, there are also some important technological advances in habitat monitoring, such as environmental DNA or eDNA, optical sensors, and acoustic sensors. So for eDNA, this technology detects the existence and quantity of plankton species by using DNA fragments isolated from water samples. So for optical sensors, these monitor various optical properties of water, such as fluorescence, turbidity, or light attenuation, in order to infer phytoplankton quantity and composition. And lastly, for acoustic sensors, these are systems that detect and quantify plankton in a water column using sound waves. So plankton biomass, size distribution, vertical migration, and spatial patterns can be all obtained using acoustic sensors. So in this part of the presentation, there is a case study to be discussed here to show that habitat monitoring of phytoplankton is effective in monitoring the health of lakes. So, a study by Nevaret et al. Assessed the water quality, sediment geochemistry, and phytoplankton diversity in Lake Palakpakin, San Pablo City of Laguna in Philippines. So they collected water and sediment samples from 6 stations around the lake and analyzed them for various physical, chemical, and biological parameters. So they found that the lake was classified as hyper-eutrophic, indicating a high level of nutrient enrichment and productivity. So they also observed that the phytoplankton community structure was influenced by the water quality and sediment geochemistry of the lake. So with this information that was brought by phytoplankton habitat monitoring and other methods, these could help in improving the quality of the lake in the right direction, knowing the information that was brought by these methods.
In conclusion, phytoplankton monitoring is the systematic observation of phytoplankton populations in lakes and other bodies of water. It is an important tool for understanding the health of lakes and for detecting and managing problems such as eutrophication. There are a number of different methods, such as in situ measurements, remote sensing, sampling, and biomarkers. The best method to use depends on the specific lake and the resources available. And our exploration for phytoplankton and habitat monitoring underscores the intricate relationships that shapes the health and dynamics of lake ecosystems. By monitoring not just the lakes but also other ecosystems with its corresponding organisms living there and their respective habitats, we gain not only insights into ecological processes but also actionable information that can guide conservation and management efforts. And that concludes our presentation on habitat monitoring in lakes. Here are our references, and thank you for your attentive listening.